Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Mayor Tyler Moore Show here on the Kokomo Post. My name is Drew Larison. His name is MTM. Mr. Mayor, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing great. Still recovering from a rather active weekend. I guess I could say now made the mistake yesterday. We were up at Lake Manitou at my sister's place, and I decided to tube with the high schoolers and college kids, and
How'd that go?
It went really well until about bedtime last night, and then this morning there's, I think, still a couple of spots on my back that I wasn't able to reach just because I could barely move my arms and shoulders.
I tubed a lot as a kid, and I like to say you don't know sore until you have had a tubing sore.
Oh, yeah.
Just hours of holding on, with your arms, and it's your shoulders, it's your core, everything gets sore when you're tubing.
And
it's a great workout.
You try to take pride, because you don't want to be tossed, you don't want to be the one. But
you pay for it.
If you're not the one that goes in, then when they swing the boat around to go after the person that, just hold on for your life because you're. Yeah.
No, that's fun. No, I had some great memories tubing growing up. I have family in Georgia, and literally we would go tubing on the Chattahoochee River, the one the song is named after. So that's one of the fun facts in my life.
Chattahoochee.
Yeah, weekend was good, so that's good to hear. So what's going on? Anything fun going on at City Hall this week?
Anything fun at City Hall? We are getting ready to really push the Gus Macker tournament coming up.
Yeah.
I had met with Tori Rowe earlier, Parks superintendent, who has helped bringing the Macker back to the square. I know a couple years ago, they brought it back, and it was just north of the square. Yep, and had to bag it last year due to COVID, and so today was originally the final registration, or the deadline for registration, and we only had about 54 teams. We'd like to see over 100. We think there might be a lot of people still yet to register, but we're going to do a big push to try and get folks excited about that, not only to play, but also to volunteer. Our friends, as always, at the Bridges Outreach is going to help volunteer as well. I'm trying to think who else might be. We're going to reach out to the school. So hopefully we get a lot of support for that, because it's always been a great event in the past, and so we're excited to bring it back.
Basketball hits different in the state of Indiana, and Gus Macker is a great example of that. I know we talked about that a few weeks back. I have some awesome experiences growing up playing in the Gus Macker show and the tournament and the toilet bowl. Great memories. Pam, you're laughing, but you know what I'm talking about, the toilet bowl? It's a part of the bracket that if you lose a few times and you win at the toilet bowl, it's like a special court, and if you win, you get back in, and you're back in the hunt for it. But I remember honestly, it was kind of a cool experience because it had the specialty court. Everything else was just asphalt, but the toilet bowl games were this nice laid out court. It's almost like you wanted to play there. But that's good to see Gus Macker coming back, and hopefully more teams get registered. How do people register for that?
They can go to the Kokomo Parks Department Facebook page. There's a link that can take you to the registration, really to do both, either to register to play or register to volunteer. I think there's a link on the city's city's website as well, cityofkokomo.org. But the social media, either the Twitter feed or Facebook account for Kokomo Parks Department, or you just type in Gus Macker Kokomo and it'll take you there too.
Love that. Another thing that happened late last week that I want to talk about is the dedication for the Women's Legacy Monument that happened downtown. And if you're around downtown, which our office is downtown, obviously yours is too, you've been slowly seeing this monument being built, and it's gorgeous. It's
really
finished.
Is.
They had the ceremony last Friday. We have some pictures up at the kokomopost.com if you want to see some pictures from that event, as well as we did a Facebook Live of the whole event. But it was really great to see that be finished, and it's really a special thing because I think it's the largest women's monument in the state of Indiana, I think.
Yes.
Kind of. We're getting fact checked here, but it's really.
It is the largest. And it could very well be the largest in the country, dedicated strictly to women veterans.
Yeah.
So and Jerry Paul, God love him. The man is persistent. Yeah. He actually started I guess the efforts to make this come to fruition back when I was still commissioner. So he started about 5 years ago.
Yeah,
had the vision. Met with the sculptor. It was the same sculptor that did the statue of the veteran or the soldier out at Veterans Memorial.
Yep.
Out at now Veterans Memorial Park, out by Championship Park in Darrell Chapel. And again, just the time and effort that man put in with a handful of volunteers from time to time, doing gun shows, he sold 50-50 tickets at Bobcats games most recently. It's just the slow progression on raising the money that was needed. There at the tail end, the state IHDC came in and gave them a matching grant for $50,000. So it really was a labor of love on his part.
Yeah.
And again, just turned out beautifully. It was a great day, great monument. And I definitely encourage anyone in the Kokomo area or even out of state, make it a point to get in and check it out.
It's another great reason to come downtown and see what's all going on in downtown Kokomo. But I got a correction from Pam, who's behind the camera today. It's the largest freestanding women's monument in the entire state, or maybe country in the whole United States. So that's really cool. That's a thing in downtown Kokomo. And like you said, thanks to Jerry Paul and everybody else that helped with that project to push it forward, because it is huge. There are 3 giant brass statues, life-size statues of these people that were honored and featured in the monument. That takes a lot of time, that takes a lot of planning, and if anyone ever donated to that, thank you for that as well. So another thing that happened, cool thing happened in Kokomo last week. The governor was in town, and for multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons he was in town was due to the Jeff Stout dedications that the governor had to be a part of here in Kokomo and Howard County. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So obviously, as you mentioned, Jeff Stout is a great philanthropist, a great name in the community, and that the community loved as well. Unfortunately, succumbed to an illness last year. We think that it may have been COVID related because it was in February before the pandemic actually hit. So there's questions as to whether or not that had played a part in it. But so yes, there was a request made to the state that stretch of State Road 26 from the east side of Rocheville to the west side of Rocheville be renamed Jeff Stout Memorial Highway.
Love that.
So the governor was up. They had the ceremony there in the township fire department, and it was just a great day and a true testament to a man who not only gave to the Rocheville community, but to the Howard County community as a whole.
No, that was really good to see. And I want to switch to a lighter topic with Governor Holcomb being in town. And it's about, this man has an obsession. Governor Holcomb, and it's super interesting to me being a Kokomo kid, partaking in this thing that he's obsessed with my entire life. It blows my mind how much this man loves it. But Governor Holcomb is a massive fan of the restaurant Cone Palace.
It's crazy.
He is their number one fan. It's not even close. He tweets about it when he's in Kokomo in Howard County doing anything. If he's driving through, he has to stop by Cone Palace. And I don't know what he orders, but the fact that he doesn't have a menu item in his name yet is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Now you walk in and say
dogs.
He does the Coney dogs.
He does the Coney dogs, but you're right. For as
walk in and say, I want the Holcomb.
I want the Holcomb.
Yeah.
I want the Holcomb special.
It blows my mind. And I don't know, of course.
And really, I think you could probably do that. If you went in and said, you know what, I'd like the Holcomb special, they would know exactly what to serve you.
Yeah, the man, I feel like he's going to retire in Kokomo just so we can be close to Cone Palace. And every morning he's going to go there and, get his Coney dogs for lunch. And, but it's just so funny to me because, like I said, being a Kokomo kid, Cone Palace is good. Don't get me wrong. It's a staple in Kokomo, but the man's obsessed, like has almost like a problem. He needs to speak to a therapist about this because he's just, every time he's in Kokomo, he has to go to Comb Palace. Paul Wyman, I feel like he's an enabler of this addiction,
right?
because he's always taking him there.
Yep.
He always takes him
actually,
there.
Representative Mike Karakoff also usually takes a bag of conies if he's going down for a meeting or something. I mean, not that there's any bribery or anything. Yeah. But as we're doing Feel Good.
Government conspiracy right there.
No. And I was looking for because even so, the day prior to that, on that Tuesday, we keep backing up Feel Good stories for the week. Yeah. Kind of flew under the radar. Talking about the Stout family. The Kokomo Fire Department, with the help of the Stout family, dedicated had made and dedicated a headstone for the grave of the very first black firefighter for the Kokomo Fire Department. District Chief Glenda Myers was doing some research. Easy for me to say.
You're good.
And came across the first black firefighter for the Kokomo Fire Department. Went through the cemetery archives, found his grave, saw that it was basically unmarked. I mean, there was a small slab there. And so J.C. Barnett, who had done a sketch of the firefighter, and his name escapes me now, and had a meeting with us. We brought Chief Stout in as well, and Chief Frazier. Chief Stout said, my family, obviously being in the funeral business, would love to donate that headstone. It was completed and dedicated last Tuesday. So it was just a great week, giving honor to those that have gone before us. Yeah, no, great week, a lot going on. A lot of good things in Kokomo last week, and it's good to recap those for this show. So let's dive right in. We've got a lot of questions for the Ask the Mayor segment. Some of them, like I said last week, a little saucy, a little savage. It's you little commenters sauce isn't bad
on the Facebook pages out there. It's interesting, but like as always, if you have a question for the mayor here, just always leave a comment on this video. I think we're getting pretty good. Monday, we record the show on Monday, so we always put out a post on Monday morning on our Facebook page asking and reminding you guys that we're filming this show today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. But we've got quite a few today, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it.
It's on it.
The first one is from Allie on Facebook, which Allie, she's asked a few questions on the show.
Great.
So thank you for always watching. And a few people, I want to say, this is obviously a longer show. We're here usually like 45 minutes or something like that. And I got a lot of texts last week from people mentioning something at like the 28-minute mark or the 30-minute mark or the 40-minute mark. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Like everybody that watches this show, and like a lot of people tell me they leave it on in the car if they're traveling or something like that, or like some people are listening to this while they work out. So it's cool to hear those things. Thank you for watching the show.
Yeah, because usually if I'm talking, my kids tune me out after like 3 minutes. So I truly appreciate those that go the full.
Yeah, it's really good to hear. So first question from Allie on Facebook. Do you have any plans to utilize Municipal Stadium for other events after the Jackrabbit season is over? I know we have the ice skating in the winter, which we love, but I would love to see some movie nights, etc. down there. Which is kickball back this year?
Kickball should be back this year. Yep, the Jackrabbits also host the adult kickball league.
We've been tempted many years.
That'll be back.
We've never done it.
Last year was the first year that I participated in the kickball league, and I think I was one of the only individuals who got hurt during a kickball game. So of course everybody, what are you gonna do? Sue yourself? And I'm like, but yeah, I was just, I was trying to beat out the throw to first, and one of those things that the upper body thinks that it's faster than the lower body is. And
that's becoming a theme this episode. We got the tubing, we got an old kickball story.
Yep.
You gotta relax a little.
Rolled, jumped up, did the whole Chevy Chase. I'm all right. But yeah, so we've got the kickball league. It is our desire to. You mentioned ice skating. Now that we have that temporary flooring that goes underneath. The ice skating rink, there have been a few organizations that have had fundraisers there and have had bands down at home plate. Our thought or desire is to maybe next year, as we look to the summer concert series, bringing in a larger act and doing it in Municipal Stadium.
Love that.
For that. So definitely that. Last year we did the movie night with the mayor, the first Friday last year. I ran Solo, which was a Star Wars story. Talked about doing that again because that was was a lot of fun to do. And in fact, one person that's really plugging for a winter themed movie, actually, it's a Hallmark Christmas movie. It's my mother. My mother wants to, if you've seen those inflatable igloos that you can sit in and with little warmers in them, and she wants to put a handful of those out and run a Hallmark Christmas movie thing. That's the same reaction that I had too. And
specifically to the Hallmark, I mean, I think I may have mentioned on the show, I'm weirdly really excited for Christmas already. And that's usually not who I am, but something's happening in my life. I don't know. I'm just really excited for Christmas. Just come on, not the Hallmark movies.
I know.
Noel is what we should watch. Noel, which is a Netflix movie, Christmas movie that Pam introduced me to last year. Such a good movie. You also cannot go wrong with like the Santa Claus, or a classic like
take
that.
Any of the Tim Allen ones. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, not the third one. The third one was the
movies,
stretch. Not needed.
All about it. Concerts, all about it. Kickball still on. So good ideas. We'll definitely run with them.
Awesome. Sounds good. Kickball, good to see that's back. We've talked about as a team or like a company doing that for a few years. I think we might have enough people on staff now to really do that.
Well, it's pretty intense. Be prepared to
take it seriously,
or just go in with an open mind and have fun with it. And and then if you end up in the kickball toilet bowl, then you're fine.
Yeah, love that. I mean, Jason would be all about that. So maybe we'll make that happen. Oh, sorry, Allie had a follow up too.
Oh.
Also, do you have a timeline for completion of the hotel/convention center that is going to be up by the Riverfront Apartments?
We do not have a definite timeline yet. We have a desired developer back at the table. He is working more aggressively and intentionally on making that become a viable project for him, which excites the city, the county, and the CVB, who are all partnering to help bring that here. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that that is still plugging away and that we may soon be breaking ground without having to can it and maybe look for another use for it, which there have been some ideas tossed around. But
what sort of ideas?
There's been a thought of maybe a performing arts center, maybe a small courtyard shop area. I forget what the place, with the area down in Carmel's called.
Clay Terrace?
No, we're Sun King. I mean, obviously we got Sun King up here, but it's Pam's going to look it up.
Or just like a Hamilton Town Center type of thing?
No, but it's got a courtyard area, some shops, some mixed use and everything. So, I mean, there's been a lot of that tossed around. But no, the desire and the plan is to stick with the hotel conference. Obviously, with Championship Park going gangbusters, there's a need for additional hotel stays. A couple of the larger event venues closing down. I know Celebrations is winding down. Continental Ballrooms winding down. The event center will now be leased as the furniture store and the large exhibit area. I mean, so there will be a need for a conference style center, and so that's the priority, that's the drive, and so fingers crossed that we get to it soon.
Gotcha. I'm interested in all those things. And by the way, it's Carmel City Center.
Carmel City Center.
Is what Pam said. I like this. You're my fact checker.
Man, this is great.
In real time. I like this a lot. Awesome.
And she's using your method, not Aaron. Aaron would grab that big whiteboard and big marker thing and boom.
And she's like, going on, that's my laptop with the text that Pam is sending me. So maybe that's not the best way to do it. But we'll work on that.
All right.
Next question is from Teresa on Facebook. And Teresa gets a little savage.
Okay.
To put it lightly. Okay. Why can't the old rehab on North Dixon be used for rehab for addiction for drugs and alcohol? It would be perfect instead of the building sitting there empty. Stop building apartments. I told you. Mm-hmm. And use what we have vacant. Just my thoughts. Teresa on Facebook. Which you can answer this, but I'm going to jump into another conversation, this whole topic afterwards. But go ahead and answer. Yeah.
There really is no reason why it couldn't be. Like she made somewhat alluded to. It was a rehab facility for Community Howard Hospital. It was their West Campus, and so it is designed for medical purposes and for longer-term stay, and so it would be a perfect opportunity for that. The hospital owns it. The hospital may have use for it. There obviously is a need for those type of facilities because we've had a few pop up. So as we continue to kind of poke Community Howard and to see what ideas they have for that facility, that I'm sure will remain at the top of it. Does it get transformed into a housing type of structure? Could be, again, privately owned as opposed to city-owned or county-owned. But definitely, it is somewhat frustrating to see a facility like that not be repurposed or used and remain vacant. But not to say that it will stay that way or that conversations haven't been occurring surrounding the use for that. So, good question. One that the city doesn't have an answer to at this time without digging into the minds and the long-range plan that Community Howard Hospital has for that facility.
Yeah, and I want to get into this too because I feel like every week somehow this whole topic of the city is building apartments. The city is in full control of what happens with every building. And there's this idea, I'll call it a myth out there that a lot of people think that's true. And I wanted to just talk about it for real quick, like 2-3 minutes. What is the city's responsibility, influence? How much influence do they have when it comes to private businesses coming in and doing things with buildings that they own?
So zero responsibility in the development outside of making sure that the buildings that are being developed are compliant, with code enforcement, licensing, regulations, whatever the fire chief, and his team, making sure that it's safe for occupancy, whether it's residential or business. And so, having the developments come, the city's responsible in the sense that it partners with the Greater Kokomo Economic Development Alliance or even site selectors that may come to Kokomo and Howard County looking for places to set up shop or to develop on behalf of their clients. So the responsibility then too for the city then is to provide within the legal guidelines of buckets of money and resources and stuff, tax incentives, development agreements, other type of use of funds that have been set aside or have been given or designated to the city for economic development based on whatever those the restrictions may be, either for the development itself or the use of the funds, which again, kind of the use of the funds, we're receiving these ARP funds, for the Rescue Act. We now have the availability of potential regional funds. And so they're saying, well, if you've got these, why can't you use the funds for the streets? Why can't you use the funds, because since it's government money coming from government entities, they say, hey, you can use this, but you can only use it for this, and this. And so that's frustrating for us because you're right, there are so many more uses that can be used for that. But with those restrictions, and you kind of got to do the shuffle to cover something here so that it frees up money to maybe do something there. But getting back to housing, I just got numbers today. We had our development department to make phone calls to all the apartment complexes, in the Kokomo and Greater Kokomo area to see what their occupancy, total occupancy would be, and what their occupancy currently is, and came to find out with the couple dozen or so of apartment complexes in town, there's only a 2.2 vacancy rate.
Crazy.
So out of everything that's gone up, why do we keep allowing developers, and again, developers coming in and putting them up? Because these developers
why they
are looking to
it.
communities. They say, is there a need for housing? They put something up and it's getting filled. So, again, we're trusting the numbers that are given to us. But the results that we received as of last week, that there is only a 2.2% vacancy, meaning 2% of all of the available
empty.
apartments are available to rent.
Crazy.
When it's the same thing with the housing industry.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that. If a house goes up for sale, man, you better be refreshing your search engine because it's going to be
got 10
snatched
offers
up
before it hits the market.
So
yeah,
there's a need.
So I mean, but just to clear it up, the city is not building apartment buildings.
Correct.
The city does not profit off of apartment buildings
directly. Now we would profit from it by these people coming and possibly working in Kokomo and bringing their income and such, and so income tax, but we're not taking a cut.
No,
correct.
And I mean, if somebody comes to the city and says, "Hey, I want to put $1 million apartment complex," why would we say no to that? I mean, but at the same time, there's, like I said, it's a myth of sorts that, the city is fully in charge. Every new building that gets built in the city, Tyler's out there with a hammer, building himself. And that's just not true. There's so much private development happening that the city welcomes, because why wouldn't you?
And when it's private development, that increases the total assessed value of the community, whereas if the city would put something up, it'd be tax exempt.
Something's going on.
So I know, just two of them go.
Some of your, interesting. Maybe we'll talk about that on next week's episode, whatever is happening. All right. So next question is from Brett on Facebook. Also someone that leaves a question quite a bit. So thank you, Brett. Are there any major companies eyeing Kokomo for their location? Is Kokomo currently pursuing any major companies? It's the same thing. In talks with companies that do look at Kokomo for their possible location, do they voice common concerns?
There hopefully are companies looking to Kokomo to relocate or to set up shop. A lot of those inquiries go through, as I mentioned earlier, the Greater Kokomo Economic Development Alliance through Charlie Sparks and his department, because more times than not, those companies have hired what they call site selectors, and those site selectors take basically the schematics, the desires of that corporation, and then try to pair it up with communities, based on workforce, on amenities, on proximity to other larger metropolitan areas or airports and such, interstates. And so they would then contact, the alliance, occasionally the development department in Kokomo. But at this time, I know there's talk that there are a few waiting to see if our industrial park comes to fruition, because we're in the process of securing the deal to purchase some land, run some infrastructure out there to make it shovel ready for companies that may be suppliers for other companies. So there's talk of that. But as for any specific larger corporations looking to come here, not that I've been aware of. Again, I'd have to follow up with Charlie Sparks to see. But at that time, if the interest is there, the city gets brought to the table and say, "Hey, we're interested. What can you do to help us?" So we're usually the next step after they've identified the possibility of coming here.
Gotcha. Next question is from Nick on Facebook. Any way to add some attention to Highland Park? It needs basic maintenance. The creek is filled with weeds and it continually smells stagnant. I understand Kokomo Parks and Recreation funding, but it seems like Foster Park has had most of the attention for quite a while now.
Good question. Highland Park, I like to think, we don't discriminate between parks. There's been more attention to Foster Park, mainly because of the events that are held down there. The skate park being down there as well. Not to say that Highland hasn't had attention. We've given some love to the park band area, and we're getting ready to work on the bathrooms there to make it more suitable for those that come in and enjoy the park band. It does appear that the creek is a little more overgrown. A lot of that is because the water level of the creek through there is lower, and so with not having more rain and to work through there to work or to continue the water flowing to keep it from appearing stagnant and such. I think we do a good job maintaining, but can definitely have our guys take a look at see where things can be touched up and spruced up. Always love to have eyes out on the street. So thank you for sharing your concerns with that. I mean, even the playground, tennis courts, there's a lot going on. The CFD Stadium there is one of the gems of the community.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely keep after it and look at it.
Next question is from Mark on Facebook. Any idea for a venue after the first of the year when KECC is no longer an event center? Mark on Facebook.
The Hotel and Conference Center. So yeah, so with the leasing of that space in the Kokomo Event Center going to the furniture company, there is a concern that there is the need for a larger exhibit space, and so our hopes is that this developer that is interested in making the Hotel and Conference Center become a reality, we'll be able to pull the trigger and get moving on that. So unfortunately not right away, but hopefully we'll be able to work something out in the meantime.
Yep. Love to see that downtown.
Us too.
Next question is from Janet on Facebook. What are the plans for all of these empty buildings around Kokomo, and are you working on trying to get more stores in our Markland Mall? So similar.
Well, believe it or not, the Markland Mall now has a new manager, and I think they're almost at full capacity.
Wow.
So the Markland Mall is just about full.
Janet hasn't been there in a while, apparently.
And one of the coolest stores in there now is actually, and I forget what the name of, but it's paired up with the Shack Makerspace.
Yes.
So a lot of the members of the Shack Maker, it's now all things. I'm going to say it's all things Kokomo. I don't think that's the name of it.
I think,
but oh my gosh, I got the coolest cutting board.
Yeah.
Slate coasters. You name it. I mean, there's so many fun little trinket little things that are made by
handmade,
people here in Kokomo.
Aaron got me one of those cutting boards for Father's Day.
So yeah, I think Markland Mall is just about full. Now go a little further south to the Kokomo Mall. I know they've struggled in keeping occupancy there, and so the desire there is to keep working as we can and as much as they'll let us with the Kokomo Mall ownership to incentivize folks to move in there. I know JCPenney's is closed, but Gabe's is in and about ready to open.
Coming in strong to Kokomo.
So yep, so they're.
I never heard of Gabe's.
Yeah, I hadn't either, except for the pizza. There's like, Gabe's
different
moving
place.
to Kokomo Mall, and I went, what?
We're not selling that much pizza where they need that big of a space.
So Gabe's is coming in, so hopefully that will help spark a little more life to help in there. I mean, and you guys obviously were talking about Taku being down at the other end of Kokomo Mall, and then Miller Furniture. I mean, so there's still life being breathed in there. So hopefully Gabe's presence will keep that momentum going. Obviously with B-Dubs there also, but so we do what we can to send notices out to try and encourage people to market Kokomo. But I know this past year, COVID put a damper on a lot of businesses relocating or expanding and such. So as we continue to come out of the pandemic, despite the little surge here with the Delta, we'll keep our fingers crossed that we'll keep luring them in.
Yeah. The only spots I can think about in the Markland Mall that there's still a few open is on the New Edition part. By Aldi. I think there's a few spots over on that end that haven't had anybody. But
and then even
Xfinity just moved in there.
And across the parking lot by Best Buy.
Yeah, and don't get Bree started on the parking lot if you remember right. She doesn't like that place. Next question is from Kristen. Kind of a broad question. What can we all do to get more involved to make Kokomo a more active, fun place for families? If that's not a softball for what you're doing with the trails.
I know.
There you go,
I love it. Yeah. First of all, get out and enjoy the amenities and spread the word. I mean, and continue to encourage folks to do it, to take advantage of it and to take part in it. Otherwise, as ideas come up, send me an email, set up a meeting, come in and give us some thoughts. Get involved with the Chamber. Chamber is a great place to get businesses connected and new ideas shared. But we're always open for new ideas, things that we may not be looking for. But yeah, some of the additional amenities that are coming, there on the north end, the little pod area there at Jefferson and Phillips, outside of Scoops and Bruno's Pizza and Big Ben Coffee. A little further north, up by Northside Ballpark, redoing the bathrooms there, and hopefully getting the pump track and a ninja course put in. Giving a facelift to Studebaker Park up through there. Working with the railroad to get the trails extended past Effenball out towards Frankfort and Clinton County. But what they can do to get involved, really just find ways. Use them.
The best way to encourage more of something is use the heck out of what's currently there. That'll prove that people want it, and then the city will build more of it. So there's a lot to do. Like I said, we've talked about a lot about the trails. I was explaining to somebody over the weekend actually how you're explaining it as the trail system is kind of like a new highway system, and our goal is to build little fun exits off of the trail system. Like you said, the Ninja Park or whatever it's going to be called, or like another splash pad, or all these little fun things that go right off the trail. Keep building those like it would be a highway system with exits. I think it's really smart. Next question is from Tracy on Facebook. This one confuses me a little bit. Okay. Tracy wants to know, will you ever gain control over your violence? I don't think you're a violent person.
I'd like to think I'm not either.
But maybe she's talking about violence in the city?
Kokomo. I bet it's the violence in Kokomo.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah, sorry.
What we're doing to get control of our violence, hopefully continuing to place emphasis on our Kokomo Police Department as well as Fire Department, police specifically, since we're addressing violence. Yeah. But proud to say that we've hired 23 new officers since the beginning of last year. We've unfortunately lost about 17 or 18 due to retirement. And so as we continue to add the numbers, give them the resources they need to get them out in the community, that will be a great deterrent, hopefully, to violence, and give us the opportunity to address it more, but be more proactive as opposed to reactive. Continuing to strengthen the bond that we have with the Howard County Sheriff's Department, because obviously Kokomo is in Howard County, and the great working relationship that those guys and gals have between departments, getting Brown and Blue to work together, has been great. We're getting the what used to be a joint drug task force back together to hopefully once again be more proactive in regards to that. So and really encourage community policing as well. I mean, as people get more comfortable with the police department and their response as we increase numbers, knowing that, okay, if I see something, I'm going to make a call and it's going to get addressed, or there's going to be a police officer or sheriff deputy show up. Therein lies the incentive and the encouragement to get more involved with community policing. So as we add the numbers, not only will that help them be more proactive, but give the community a greater sense of empowerment to work with the police departments and sheriff deputy to help address what unfortunately works its way into our community.
So I'm hearing we're net 6 right now.
Net 6.
New police officers.
I think that's right.
Are we seeing any trends go down or up, I guess, depending on what you're looking for on the new tactics we're doing, the new police officers that we're hiring, that things are moving in a right direction? Are we seeing things like that? Because maybe these people aren't looking at those reports, or maybe those reports aren't honestly being reported. So maybe we'll do it on this show or maybe next week. But I mean, seeing less violent crimes, seeing less calls, all of those things, is everything moving in the direction it should with the changes that have been made?
Yes and yes. Okay. Absolutely, yeah. And unfortunately, those numbers aren't out. We've got them running the analytics, because last year was kind of an interesting year. Yeah. And fortunately, things didn't spike like we thought that they would, with people staying home and being required to stay home. That there would be more domestic violence cases, and there wasn't more drug use, and there wasn't. And so actually, a lot of violent crime, and even crimes that may not be considered as violent, I mean, a lot of those numbers have dropped. I believe close to 16% since, in many areas on the average, since the reports in 2019. So I know Captain Perty with the Kokomo Police Department is working on those numbers and getting those so that we can make them available to the community, because it does seem like there's more violence, because we're again, being more proactive. You see a lot more public releases. You see more notices, coming from the police department about, actions being taken, people being sought and such, because, again, we're working on community involvement and asking the community for help in those and to receive notice. And so, yes, I think a lot of what Chief Stout and his administration, as well as the department as a whole, are doing is making a positive effect, even though we don't see it on the surface.
Gotcha. That'd be good to see when those reports do come out, the changes and frankly, the more dollars that are being spent towards that, hopefully it's be worth it and, good things are happening. So that'll be good to see when they come out. All right, let's do one more question. We've had a lot of questions this week. Let's do this one from Jill on Facebook. On some First Friday, can we have some handicapped education for businesses? Some in Kokomo aren't wheelchair accessible. Also, some public restrooms in Kokomo restaurants are not wheelchair accessible either. Jill on Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great idea. And Susan Alexander with the Downtown Association coordinates the First Friday events. And so that is definitely, I know they're always looking for ideas because every First Friday has a theme. Yep. And so, I think that they would be very welcoming to that type of theme to help raise awareness to those that struggle to get in and out of businesses or even around town. I mean, there's still, that's some of the things we get to as we work on streets and sidewalks and corners and such, that there are some areas where there may be a higher percentage, even if it's 2 or 3 people in a particular neighborhood that don't have the ADA compatible ramps at the corners yet. And so getting that information, helps us to know where those individuals may have struggles, even if it's close by the schools. But no, I think that's a great thing to pass along to Susan Alexander, and I will definitely do that.
Downtown's
and see if they can work that
too,
in,
because there's a lot of older buildings, and a lot of older buildings are grandfathered in when it comes to certain things, whether it be an elevator, or something like that, or if it's a small restaurant that only has space for one bathroom, or something like that. And to make those changes, not saying you shouldn't at least look into it, but I mean, to make those changes, it's a large portion of funds, to make those changes. So sometimes it's difficult in these old buildings to do.
But you're right. If somebody's repurposing something to use for a new business or venture, if they're not drastically changing the footprint, you're right, they don't have to make things more ADA compliant, but this would be a way to encourage those to that may be looking to relocate or to work their way in downtown to do so.
Awesome. So thank you. That was Ask the Mayor segment. Like I said before, if you have any questions for the mayor, please leave them in a comment below. If it's a good enough question, we'll put it on the show. And sometimes maybe if you ask a question and it doesn't make it on the show, it's because probably it's the same question as somebody else. So we're not going to ask the same question 10 times just to make you feel good about your question making the show. So maybe that's why. But always leave those in a comment below. Or like I said, on Monday mornings, we put out that post asking for those questions too, because this guy loves answering your questions.
Love it.
He loves it. He loves being interactive with the community here in Kokomo, and that's a cool thing to see.
Always.
Awesome. So let's move on real quick to the movies with the mayor. This week, you had me watch a Tom Hanks classic called The Money Pit. And I'll be honest, I live in an older home. We live in, what's it called? Not Silk Stocking. Forest Park area of Kokomo. Creepers, don't come after me. We live in the Forest Park area of Kokomo, and definitely an older home. It'll be 100 years old in 2024, and I kind of have like this idea. I want to throw like a big birthday party for my house.
I think
as weird as that sounds, but have like 100-year-old birthday party and have a bunch of people over, and I think it'd be fun. But watching this movie, knowing that I live in an older home as well, it didn't help with my anxiety. I'm going to be honest, because so the plot of this movie, Tom Hanks and his wife, they buy this old home. They find all this money, which the story with the kid that always made me laugh, Billy, where he got the money from. So they put their money together. They buy this old home, fixer upper, and if anything that could go wrong, it went wrong. It went wrong, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. And there's so many good like small characters.
You almost feel bad laughing at.
I know it gets like cringy, awkward. At first you're like, oh, that's funny, but then you're like, oh, I'm really starting to feel bad for these people. Wait, I live in an old home. That could happen to us. And it just was terrifying. But it had some really funny moments, like when he gets stuck on the floor. I was dying at that. When the stairs are falling down. I mean. Classic Tom Hanks.
Yep.
Classic good young Tom Hanks. And I feel like being the age I'm at, I don't see a lot of young Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
But he was so good.
Oh, he really was.
So good. Great movie. The Sleazy Carpenter was a good part of the movie that made me laugh. But I mean, great movie. Highly enjoyed it. Thanks for recommending that
Absolutely.
one. Absolutely. A unique twist to next week's movie with the mayor. One of our staff here at the Kokomo Post and Larissa Media, her brother-in-law actually filmed, directed, and wrote his first ever movie.
Awesome.
That's like a short film. It's like getting really great reviews. So I'm going to twist it. I'm actually going to recommend a movie to you.
You got it.
This week.
I
The
love
movie
it.
is called Whelm. It's kind of a modern Western, which reminds me of Tombstone. And guys, this wasn't planned.
Didn't
I swear.
plan it at all.
He walked in and said, I've actually got a movie for you this week. It's a modern Western. And he flipped his feet up with it. He's wearing the cowboy boots. It was meant to be. So if you're interested in watching Whelm, you can do it on iTunes as well as Amazon. Amazon has it. You can either rent it or buy it. But it's the guy's from Wabash. And the movie was filmed in Wabash. Cool. So it's a local movie. The trailer is like deep. I remember she sent us the trailer. I haven't watched it yet either, so I'm going to watch it with you. But I mean, the trailer is deep, dark, old, but modern Western all at the same time. The movie called Whelm. WHELM. Find it on Amazon or iTunes. So we're going to watch that and we'll come back with it next week.
Excellent.
All right. So as always, do you have a dad joke for us to end the show?
Sure. Well,
speaking of dad joke, my kids almost ran into the room.
Here. Since we're going with the Western, horse walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Hey, buddy, why the long face?"
Bada boom. That's a classic dad joke. Love this. Oh, yeah, sorry. Wap, 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 wap. Thank you for watching this episode of the Mayor Tyler Moore Show here on the Kokomo Post. As always, please leave any comments below if you have any questions for the mayor. He loves answering those questions, and we love making these shows, getting those answers out to the people of Kokomo. And don't forget to watch the movie Whelm on iTunes as well as Amazon so you guys can watch us review it and talk about it next week. Thank you for watching this week's episode. We will see you next time.
You got to have a great day, all.